Hey guys, it's your course director, Emily Ray. Just wanted to provide you a little bit of positive, productive feedback on the portfolio site that you have been enhancing here in Portfolio 3. I've gone ahead and queued up 3 sites for this review. We're going to be taking a look at the sites of Solange, Carlyn, and Hayley in this review. So first up, we have Solange, and I remember this site well from last month. Very clean and professional, minimalist in its appearance. So we've got a short introduction here and a nice professional-looking, friendly photo of you. You've got your social media accounts linking here to the other locations on the web where we can get in touch. I'm going to go ahead and select experience and expect it to drop me down to this next part of the page, and kind of got this timeline here of the places that you've worked. I like that it's kind of the highlights. If you have any related experience in terms of the tasks or the duties that you performed in these particular locations or at these companies, that might be something you'd also like to list here. Jumping next to the education section, just a little bit of information about where you went to school, so all of that is nice and relevant. Jumping to the skills, so here we've got not only some technical skills, but then also some soft skills like leadership and speech, writing, and then some language stuff here. It's very diverse what you've got. I like it a lot. One thing you might want to consider is the idea of certain keywords, infusing this section with things like maybe not just Adobe, but Adobe Creative Cloud, or is it Photoshop that you're proficient in, or is it Illustrator? That might be something that you want to distill a little bit further. Jumping next to achievements, so here we've got your lynda.com certificate. So these are different types of skills, different types of schooling that you've gone through, learning modules. We don't quite have a grid going across here, and that could be because you have these different size thumbnails, right? So if these were all the same size, they would line up in a nice row, but you can see how the bottom edge is a little off on each of them. I would definitely go in and make these all of the same size, but alternatively, what I might encourage you to do is to simply type out the name of each of these modules and then go ahead and link the text to a larger version of this image, right? Because as is, these are pretty duplicative and redundant in appearance, right? They look exactly the same, and unless I concentrate really hard on these small images, I can't really see that the titles are different. So it might be something that you can do to keep the information and present it in a more usable format. Scrolling down, so I see here that we have a project section, but we don't have a project section listed up here. So that's a little bit of a disconnect, right? Because you've basically taught me how to navigate, that I'm just going to keep dropping down on the page, and that's going to correspond with what I see here. So I know that you added this project section based on some feedback from the previous class. I'm going to go ahead and select it. One of the things here, and it does take me in fact to your blog, right? So here is the slight kind of disconnect in your navigation. I could get to this information by clicking blog, which takes me to this section. So it's a difference in naming convention here, the navigation versus this section title. And then you're featuring these posts, which basically then share a bit about your projects here. As I load up kind of this main page, I'm also noticing some contrast issues between this light gray and the white text on it. I like that you're featuring your projects in the form of a blog, because you contextualize what it is that you create, right? So instead of just showing me a design, you tell me about your creation process, which helps me understand your unique approach in whatever it is that you're trying to show me. But so something to think about in terms of the organization of your links and the content there. Jumping next to the contact section, it drops me back down here into the footer of kind of like this scrolling one page. I've got just simple contact information, contact form, and your social media again. This site is really beautiful, and you've done a super job. Again, I think some attention needs to be focused here on the achievements section and with the projects. What I might do here, instead of have kind of this slider, is maybe feature 3, curate the experience, right? So you don't have to put everything in your portfolio, but just the things either that you're most proud of or that are representative of the kinds of works that you want to do in the industry. So next up, we've got Carlyn's site. So remember this site well from last month. So here we've got the personal branding and logo up here to look kind of like a headset. Your name in nice, big branded colors right here. What I might recommend is, you are putting this kind of front and center, but I might recommend moving it up to the header, which gives you more available space here on the home page to, share more content or more about what it is that you're doing. So it's pushing the rest of this stuff, which granted, there's not too much on this home page. So, really there's an opportunity here to add more, to not kind of hide the goods or the content that your ideal site visitor might be looking for. We've got your social media up here, which linking to other locations on the web where we might be able to find more about you. I know that you've rebranded here to your name, but I'm noticing that your social media still is kind of linking to the Twitter is to the Mozepi, so that might be, there's some consistency that you can achieve there. The black kind of seems a little off-brand because there's not much else that's black on the page. White might look better, might kind of add to that sort of sky cloud appearance. On the About page, we have just a little bit of info about you and then kind of an introduction video. I would maybe move this stuff to the home page. I don't see why they have to be separate. Since this portfolio site is about you, it might make sense that all about you is here on the home page. Jumping next to projects. So here, a little bit of context about what we're seeing, but kind of a strange layout in that like these projects are kind of breaking the container or the layout that you have produced and observed on other pages. The other thing too is there's some inconsistency in these thumbnail sizes, right? Which makes it for less of a structured grid type appearance. So I might recommend cropping these to the same size or to the same dimension so that you can get a kind of a smoother layout there. I'm just going to go ahead and select one of these just to check it out. So here we have it looks like it's a video portrait, but it looks like it's just a thumbnail of a video portrait. And here I could go to and watch the full thing. So you're kind of showcasing that you do have skills in this area, but you're making me jump through hoops to view this. I'm wondering if there's a way that you could include the actual video here on the page, and then I could go ahead and press play right from here instead of having to jump over to YouTube. Another thing I might say is these navigation links are pretty small. I might make them a little bit larger so they're easier to read. Jumping next over to resume. So here we've got your resume, which looks great, and I recognize this from some of the work that you've done on it. It's laid out in such a way as to kind of mimic what you did in the print, I would say that it works here because it's kind of summarized into 2 columns and that you have made it so that the information flows well from section to section. But I don't see enough designation between kind of the visual styling between these sections, right? So the word education and experience, skills and awards, they're all headings of some kind. They're section titles. I'd like to see them have a different style that kind of allows them to stand out more on the page, which allows my eyes to float more easily through the different elements. Jumping next to blog, we have just basically, it looks like it's your school blog, and your projects are always very well contextualized and explained. Your writing is on point and very insightful, so I like that you've included the blog here because it's really representative of your educational journey and what you're learning. So this page looks really fantastic. Last but not least, we just jump over to the contact section, which is a simple form. But what I'm seeing is that you provide this information down here in the footer of the page, and you've got all these other ways to connect up here. I'm not sure that that this needs a standalone page. Certainly something for you to think about. If someone has the form here, what's the use of sharing the email, because they kind of provide the same functionality. Overall, I'd say this is a really strong iteration of this site, Carlyn. And my main kind of insight and advice would be to potentially merge these 2 pages, maybe think about not having the contact page, some more visual styling for your resume, and then under the projects, make it easy for people to actually get in and enjoy the work that you've done. But last but not least, we've got Hayley's site. So this is a huge shift from what we saw last month. It's very beautifully done. Hayley, you've got so much great work, and I'm super excited to see how you've organized and shared it in this new portfolio site. So, your brand is the H2O. We've got some really pretty kind of watercolor paint splotches and drizzles here. One thing that I'll say is I like that you have this, your logo front and center. It gives a very artistic feel, but this very thin stroke on the white kind of makes it, it's just not as easy to read as if this were, a different color, maybe a blue or a purple. I know that you probably like the starkness of the white, but potentially think about a way, maybe it's just a thicker stroke on here to have that kind of stand off the page just a little bit more. It kind of gets lost with the boldness of the art that we see here. Jumping next to the About section tells me a little bit about your story. I love that you included this illustration here, and then I find out more about you. I can go ahead and download a PDF version of your resume, which is nice. Jumping next to the services, you've done a nice job of really streamlining all of this, right? So you let people know where your experience is and where you'd like to make a contribution and help in the realms of branding, marketing, and design. From portfolio, by the way, I love this transition that shows this watercolor aspect there. We have these different projects that you've chosen to feature and highlight. I'm going to go ahead and select one just to see where it takes us. So here, a Lightbox Effects, we've got the title and kind of a description that you do photography for senior photos, photography couple shoots. That picture's loading in. We've got photography family. So what I love about this, Hayley, is that you've really hunkered down t-shirts, so apparel design, that you've curated this experience for us, right? It's not everything you've done. It's just, examples in the different realms, which is great because you show your diversity, but you don't overwhelm the visitor. And then last but not least, we have this contact section where we've got a form, a phone number, and other ways to get in touch with you on the web. Overall, super job, and can only look forward to seeing the more great work that you do and how you continue to build this site out from there.